most comedy is stand-up. I am putting myself on a stool. I'm at halfway house. I'm not a sit-down comic. I'm not a stand-up comic. And a lot of people say, you're not that funny. Especially my own family. They say, that's not funny. You know, because they've heard every configuration of every way that you could work a complaint or sarcasm or some sort of a, what we would say, an accident. You know, when something happens in the family, you make a comment on it. That's sometimes it's not very appreciated because it has a sting at the end of it. And speaking of that sting, I used to see him at the yoga classes. We're in pretty good shape, you know. I mean, I can still move around. What did Bill Boggs say? That I was surprisingly, what was it? Surprisingly something or other. I think he was commenting on my hair. Anyway, I want to tell you what an influencer I am because no one's going to say it for me, so I'm going to say it. You know, CBS television. Now, if you are watching TV and you are not switching to streaming, which you are right now, that's what you're watching, then you are really very dumb. Even the networks are switching to, see, they cleverly have switched to streaming because they can charge for it. When you're on television, regular TV, you need to sell commercials, and they can't do that so much now, except for political spots where these people are always arguing. We got this governor of Florida who raised the price at Disney and also is shifting people who have come here, the immigrants, he's sending them up to Martha's Vineyard. And that's not on his commercials, so they have him as a Navy officer and a family man and taking care of all these wonderful people who are suffering. That's the job. You gotta have a lot of boogie around you, you know. Otherwise, you're not going to keep that job too long. And that's it. You know, the one-term thing is also very popular. You know, people don't want to keep anybody too long anymore because we're all suffering from overpriced. That's it. Everything's too high. And the guy who's going to give us the lower prices, we will vote for because we don't want to spend our money. That's simply put. So who's going to give me the biggest bargain? Who's going to make sure that I don't have inflation or where I don't have any money that I put in my mattress that I have to pull out so that I can live? Which one of these people is going to do that? None of them. There's a guy on television in Miami says, I'm Bobby, I'm going to buy your house. Yeah, right, Bobby, you're going to buy my house. Go buy the White House, will you? At least that's for sale. And they did some research at Stanford now. They put some brain particle from a human being into a rat. And now you know how you got people who run for Congress. That's it. And Putin is king rat. So I had a song called Rats in My Room, which recorded back in the 60s. We were in charge of the music, so we made it #1. We pumped it up. My partner and I, Danny Neverth in Buffalo, we had #1 record because we said so. It was called Rats in My Room. And the other side was Rats in My Room Part 2. Flip it over, we got another rat. So I wanted to get the airplay in New York, but they wouldn't let me do it because in New York they had rat festation. At that time they were fighting the rats in the subway, and I don't mean the people. So they didn't play my record, but every other city did, and it got famous. And it was even done, as a matter of fact, years later by Tiny Tim before he passed on. If you know who he was, he was a pretty outrageous guy who looked a little bit mousy. Speaking of Rats in My Room. So we got the song, and it keeps coming up, it keeps popping up. Rats in My Room. We experiment with rats. We experiment with mice, and a lot of people have become very mousy about everything, you know. And I want you to know that I'm an influencer. I'm an influencer of the influencers because they watch me to find out where they're going to go so they can get famous. Because my outreach program is not the most popular tuned in program. I don't have 14 million clicks and 5 million viewers and 100 million people that adore me. So they got to put me on regular television because I'm such a big hit on the internet. And that's where a lot of things last a minute or 10 seconds. People go on, this is my screen door now. Screening my material again, right on cue. The people that work in television watch me. Why? Because they can get ideas for where they're going to go with their shows. That's why. There was a guy on CBS Morning Show today. It was an Italian guy in New Jersey who was cooking, and he's an over easy guy. That was the show that Hugh Downs used to have on NBC years ago, which was for people my age. And we were retired and not ready to, not willing to lay down or lie down. And this guy is doing push-ups in the kitchen and dancing and making Italian food. And he was a janitor 20 years ago. He retired. He's 83 years old. And what is he doing now? I don't know. I can't understand. He's got that Italian accent. He never lost that after all these years. You never lost your accent. What's the matter? But he got popular with a cooking show on the internet. Everybody can have a space on the internet now. It's streaming. You know, we're streaming everything. Everything goes out there. But you see, CBS has decided to be the majority. They were the majority network, now the minority network. You know, they got the Comedy Central and the Black Network and the country music thing, and my stools are falling. That doesn't sound good for an old person. So, you know, we don't like a lot of the programming that's on right now. There was an Indian comic they put on, a guy who's the Patriot Act, and he's going to be very famous. They want to put him in the Comedy Central. Why don't you put me in the Comedy Central? What's very central is the material, and what's very central is the appeal to the audience who really wants to watch you because they know that you're interesting, not the guest you have, but the person you are. And that's if I were on the morning show with Gayle King, I'd interview her. Find out what's going on in that girl's brain. That's how you do that one. But you know, you got to have somebody like Charlie Rose. They got rid of him. You know, you have to talk about things that people want to hear you do, not something that you're next to. You know, next to Adele. What does that make me? It makes me Adele's pimp. I want to be somebody else's person. I want you to like me. That's what I did with the cheesecake at the San Gennaro Feast. I went out and I sold the Joey Reynolds. You can go to joeyreynolds.cheesecake.com and you see all the pictures, many of them. I talked to people. I went back and forth with them because I want to know the people. I don't care about the issue. The issue is irrelevant. Yeah, we know there's an election. So what? You don't get to know these people with this half-minute or one-minute commercial that they run. This one woman in Florida, you've heard me mention her. She's running for office, doesn't want to be a socialist. Well, social networking is socialism. That is what it is. So it's not communism. Communism is community where you share everything. And that's not a bad idea when there's a tragedy, but then afterwards you want to be a volunteer, not a victim. That's the difference. A victim in some place where there has been a terrible tragedy is someone who's suffering, and then on the other side of it come the volunteers to help that person. That's a volunteer and victim play. And you know, you got to go along with the gag. Life is tough. It's in the first page of the book, The Road Less Traveled. It says life is tough, so get over it. And it is tough. You got to figure it out. You got your own brain, and you may be lending your brain to a rat. Mine is going to a pigeon. I had the birds. Remember, I had the bird on the air. Is this stool uncomfortable? Am I still doing stand-up with my sit-down posture? Yeah. That's it. I'm very self-conscious now because I'm able to see myself as I'm talking. Now, if you could do that, if you could sing in the shower and have a mirror in there and look at yourself and see the foolishness of your own self, that's when you are awake. I see how ridiculous I am. And so I'm continuing to be ridiculous because that's who I am. I'm a ridiculer. Ridiculous, that's what the word comes from. We want to get rid of everything that is in the way of anything that is uncomfortable. Well, you better go get that foam-lined. What did I say the pillow guy was going to make yesterday? Going to make. I think he had Putin body bags with Putin's own logo on there, and we should put the bodies in there and put them on that bridge. I said that yesterday, but today I'm thinking about the coffin that I want, which has a memory foam, so that I'm more comfortable. My body will fit in there more comfortably. And maybe the pillow guy would like to make the memory foam coffin and line it with some of his great foam. How ridiculous, right? Well, I am ridiculous. That's why I'm sitting on my own stool, which still doesn't sound right. So here it is. It's a Reynolds Wrap. I hope you enjoy what I'm saying, because I certainly want you to enjoy me. And I also would like people who are in the networks, on television, on radio, to wake up. I mean, wake up. People want to socialize. They want socialism. Ism. It's a Reynolds Wrap ism.